Today in science, we're going to learn about the life cycle of a plant. So, what is a life cycle? Let's have a look. First of all, let's look at what the word cycle means. The word cycle means something that goes around or a series of things that keep repeating in the same order. A life cycle is the journey that a living thing goes through from the beginning of its life to the end. You might think that it just goes in a straight line. So, baby is born, grows up a little bit into a child, ends up as an adult, and finally gets old. But really, our life is a cycle. Baby is born, you grow up to a child, you become an adult, you get old. But somewhere there while you're an adult, well, many people in the world will have another baby. And then that baby grows up, becomes an adult, gets old. Sometime while they're an adult, they'll have another baby. And the cycle just keeps going round. Let's have a look at the life cycle of a plant. Today we're looking at the watermelon. You can see from this picture that those little black dots are the seeds. So that when those seeds get planted in the ground, they start to germinate. This picture here is the very beginning of a seed starting to grow. You can still see the seed on the end of the stem there. This would be really, really small in the ground. Then it starts to grow up a little bit and the stems and the leaves start to come through depending on what type of plant it is. Then it grows up even more and becomes big enough to make its own fruit or flowers. In this case, we're looking at a watermelon and you can see the watermelon there on the watermelon vine. Then the seeds from the watermelon go back around and they germinate and so on. It keeps going around in a cycle. Let's have a look at the life cycle of a tree now. This picture here are the gum nuts from a gum nut or eucalyptus tree. The gum nuts form after the flowers, so the flowers next to it, when they die off, the gum nuts are left behind when they fall onto the ground. Then they start to germinate. And you can see a picture here of a tree starting to germinate. You can still see the seed on the side and the little baby plant coming out. Then it starts to grow and turns into a sapling, which is a small tree. This is a small tree here that's in a pot, but that can happen in the wild as well. Then that small tree grows and becomes a big tree, big, strong, beautiful tree. And eventually it makes flowers again and seeds, and those seeds fall down, and the cycle keeps going round and round. That's why it's called a life cycle. So have you got any plants growing at home? Have you got any fruit or vegetables like these tomatoes? Or have you got some herbs like sage or mint or thyme? Or have you got some flower plants like this lavender? Go and have a look and see if you've got any. Maybe you remember planting them. Maybe your family are gardeners. Okay, today for our activity, we're going to germinate our own seeds. So you will need some dried beans. Now, beans that you use for cooking should be fine for this. If your family are gardeners and you have actual seeds, you can use those too. So it depends what you have around the place. I thought most families should have some dried beans, so we can try that. The ones that you use to cook with are fine. You will need a clip lock bag. You only need one. And you need a piece of paper towel. If you don't have paper towel, maybe use a tissue, but paper towel is best. It holds the water better. And some sticky tape, because we're going to sticky tape it out somewhere warm. Okay, what do I do now? All right, you need to soak your beans overnight. Best overnight. If you can only do it for a few hours, that's good too, but they definitely need to be soaked. You don't need a lot of beans. This picture here has a lot of beans. You just need maybe 5 or 6 beans. You could use a variety of beans if you want. Once your beans have been soaked, then get yourself a piece of paper towel and wet it. And then put your paper towel and the beans into a clip lock bag like this. The moist paper towel keeps the moisture there for the beans. That's why it's in there. So they don't need to be wrapped up or anything. As you can see from this picture, they're just all in there together. Make sure that you clip lock it really tightly at the top so all that moisture doesn't just evaporate out. And then find somewhere nice and warm and sunny to put your beans. Now that's what the sticky tape is for, because a window is a good spot. Maybe inside a window that gets the sun for a lot of the day is a really good spot. If you can't, maybe on your veranda or outside somewhere. And then hopefully in a few days your beans will start sprouting. That will be so good. It is winter here in Australia, so it might take a bit longer, but hopefully your seeds will start to sprout. It'll be really fantastic to see pictures of the process. So pictures of you putting the beans together, and then pictures every few days of your beans starting to sprout, and post them on Google Classroom. Once they've sprouted, you can plant them into a pot or into the ground and actually grow the bean plant. So once we get back to school, if anyone manages to do that, make sure you take pictures, or maybe you could bring in the beans eventually, and that would be so good. Okay, bye for now.